So this one more thing event was the one I was genuinely hyped for. Sure, the new iPhones are cool, and I always love the September events where traditionally the iPhone and Apple Watch see revisions, but COVID being COVID messed up everything, and so Apple graciously gave us 3, yes count them, 3 events this year, and the one more thing event was obviously the last one. That was the one that really had me intrigued. Apple's ARM MacBooks with their own custom silicon was something I had been looking for a very long time. As an investor myself, the ditching of Intel was brutal to Intel stock, but Apple had everything to gain. Now with the new M1 chip, everything is tightly interlocked with everything right on the M1 chip. It doesn't have to draw power from separate RAM, for example, or send any signals out to a GPU since everything is right there at the ready on this custom-built Apple chip. And that's where the possibilities really start to flourish because there's 2 great outcomes from the architecture of the M1, mainly power improvements and efficiency improvements. I was almost certain that efficiency would be at the forefront with a small bump to power. And look, let's get the elephant out of the room. Those graphs Apple used at their event suck. Like, they weren't even labeled. It looks like someone at the presentation team slacked hard and realized these graphs for the event weren't ready and then made these very ambiguous charts. Looked like hieroglyphics because I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Needless to say, Apple's obviously gonna hype up its own chip, as they always do, and make all these claims about performance and such. But you know how we do it on this channel. We don't take Apple's word for it, we actually test and compare. But guys, I'll let you in on a little secret. The M1 chip has changed the game. I don't even know if it's fair to compare these to Intel Macs because the M1 really is that big of a deal, and the first device we have to unbox that features this all new M1 chip is the newly revised MacBook Air. Traditionally, the Air has been the weakest MacBook that was really geared towards students or really anyone not expecting a heavy workflow. But now with the M1, this little guy here, the new 2020 Air, is outbenching even some of the top tier MacBook Pro 16 inches. It's insane. So I know you guys have a bunch of questions, and rest assured, there will be plenty of future videos comparing and contrasting, battery tests, and more, because it's impossible to fit into one video what the M1 is capable of. But at least for now, we'll look at an unboxing and some preliminary benchmarks, that way you guys can see what I'm talking about. I haven't been this excited for a Mac upgrade in a while, so let's roll that intro already. So going over a quick unboxing because it's largely much of the same. On the front, we feature our all new MacBook Air in profile, so you can notice that wedge shape that tapers out. The MacBook Air branding and Apple logo are color coded to your respective color. So in my case, I got space gray, so you already know what that means. On the back, we can see the contents of our box as well as our technical specifications. In my case, this has a pitiful 256GB SSD and 8GB of unified memory. Again, it's unified because the RAM is located directly on the M1 chip, not separately. We do thankfully have a pull tab, which is sad because my unboxing knives haven't seen action in a while. Let's lift open the lid, and first thing we see is our brand new MacBook Air, shrouded in this frosted plastic. We'll move it to the side for now to see what other contents we can find inside. And as is customary, we have our literature packet titled Designed by Apple in California. And here is basically a quick start guide, our warranty information, as well as a set of color matched Apple stickers. The color matching is always appreciated. We then have our standard USB-C to USB-C cable used to charge your shiny new MacBook, as well as a 30-watt power adapter that is weaker than the one found in the entry 13-inch Pro. Alright then, let's bring back our MacBook Air into the spotlight and remove the frosted plastic that protects it during shipment, open up the Air, remove the thin layer of protective film covering the display, and you should hear that iconic Mac sound and your system will power on automatically. So the chassis here is unchanged. On the exterior, this device is exactly the same as its predecessor. Only 2 USB-C ports on the left-hand side, no touch bar like on the Pro, but you will have your scissor-style keys that thankfully Apple has finally cemented into their philosophy that butterfly keys were the literal spawn of Satan, and glad they abandoned their ambition to shove those faulty keyboards down our throats. The Air's starting price is also unchanged, coming in at $999 and coming in 3 color options: silver, space gray, and gold. No glowing Apple logo like some had predicted making a comeback. That would have been dope, not gonna lie, and we still feature our potato, also known as a 720p FaceTime HD camera, but there's nothing HD, I promise. But it's not externally what's causing such a big commotion. It's the new guts and internals of this new machine that are drawing so much attention. For starters, this all-new Air has a fanless internal design, meaning there isn't a physical fan inside that cools the internals. Instead, the system relies on the power efficiency of the M1 chip to keep everything nice and cool. All eyes are on the M1 chip, and by the looks of it, it catapulted the Air into this all-new, super capable machine with insane battery life, which has me wondering, if Apple was able to accomplish such tremendous improvements on the Air, imagine once the 16-inch Pro gets updated with its own graphics options, or even the iMacs and eventually, dare I say it, the Mac Pro. So Apple touts this as being much better than the competition with those totally useless graphs. And that's cool and all, but how does this translate into the real world? I took some Geekbench readings and I am achieving the same results as most of the other bigger YouTube channels. Here to compare, I have an Intel MacBook Air just so y'all can be equally as blown away as I am. And by the way, rest in peace to those that bought the updated Air in March or whenever it was, because this M1 chip is vastly superior. So anyway, on single core, I'm getting scores of 1729 for single core on the M1 versus 736 on this dual core i5 Air. Insane. But it gets even better. Over on multi-core, we see massive gains, with the M1 achieving a staggering 7,524, rivaling many other top-tier laptops, while the Intel Air only got 1,559. Hey, at least it's trying. But Geekbench only tells part of the story, right? So I cranked up Cinebench R23 and have it perform the test loop for 10 minutes, and likewise, we see monster performance gains on the new M1 MacBook Air, scoring 1494 on single core, while its Intel counterpart could only muster up 658, and on the multi-core side, we get 6794 for the M1, whereas the i5 Air etched out just 1379. But look, benchmarks are one thing, but I think Apple really did us a solid this year. There's a reason all the tech YouTubers are raving about this new M1 chip. Sure, we all mostly are huge fanboys and fangirls, but I promise you, this is a tremendous leap forward for the Mac line, and this is only the beginning. The performance gains don't just translate into power-hungry apps. It can be felt within the UI itself. macOS Big Sur brings so many improvements to the entire Apple ecosystem, and with the M1 chip, native apps load up as fast as an iPhone app would. Everything is so fluid and responsive. That instant turn-on feature that Craig showcased, which became somewhat of a meme, is super impressive, and it's all thanks to Apple's system on a chip, the Apple M1 chip. I'm telling you, this thing is magical, but as of yet, not all apps are fully optimized with the M1 chip in mind, but they soon will be. Apps like DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro will eventually get their own version of an M1 app, which is cool, but of course Apple is going to prioritize their own software first, and I am happy, as a Final Cut Pro user, to say that this entry Air runs just as smoothly, if not better, than my fully spec'd out 16-inch Pro. I imported some 4K clips to just play around with it, and man, despite this thing not having a fan, it barely even warmed up while having it on my lap, and everything was buttery smooth. I was blown away. And then when exporting, it's normally advisable to plug in your MacBook because, I don't know, exporting is the virtual equivalent of burpees apparently, and really drain the battery. But on the new M1 Air, nope, not for this fanless Air. I'll go more in depth with video exporting tests and other benchmarks in a later video, but from what I'm seeing, the Air is just as fast at video editing than my $7,000 plus MacBook Pro. This is insanity. I really don't know what to think. It's all so great. There are a few downsides to it though. Not everything is flowers and sunshine. Because everything is now found on this single chip, this means that everything, including the RAM, is proprietary and is near impossible to upgrade yourself. So if you thought installing your own RAM into an Intel MacBook was hard before, now Apple hit you with that ultra cap and said, not today. This makes your custom built to order configuration even more critical. Is 8 GB of unified memory enough? Apple's RAM capabilities have always been top notch. It's why on paper, the iPhone appears inferior to other Android offerings, but it's how Apple is able to optimize the hardware and software that really makes the difference. I'll have a head-to-head showdown of the same models, but having different RAM upgrade choices. Stay tuned for that, as I'm sure hundreds if not thousands are wondering the same thing. Listen, I could go on and on about the glories of the M1, and that's not even to mention the efficiency it brings to the table and enables the Air to have a battery that lasts much, much longer. Before, Apple promised you up to 12 hours of wireless web surfing and video playback. Well, now, Apple increased that by a whopping 50%, adding an additional 6 hours of juice to bring that total up to 18 hours. Students, I know you guys are super hyped for the enormous battery upgrade. I do plan on doing a battery drain test of an M1 MacBook versus the same model Intel MacBook. Maybe this very Air versus the Intel Air to see how well Apple's claims hold up. It's just so much content on the M1 chips, guys. I have so much coming up, I promise. I simply cannot fit everything in one video, but to summarize the unboxing at least. The brand new Air. 3 colors, same exact chassis, brand new guts, fanless design, tremendous power, almost even treading near pro-ish vibes, $999. What do you guys think? I think anyone picking up an M1 Air will be blown away by what it's capable of. But wait. There's also that 13-inch MacBook Pro with the exact same chipset, huh? So why choose that over the Air? We'll take a closer look at that when the 13-inch unboxing video comes out in a few days, but guys, stay tuned for a ton of more content pertaining to this device and the other M1 machines. I'm so hyped to see all of this power and now only wonder if the performance gains are this impressive on the Air. Imagine when the 16-inch gets the Apple Silicon treatment. Give me your thoughts in the comments below, and I cannot wait to catch you all in my next video.